Good afternoon. Welcome to a webinar by the Midwestern Higher Education Compact, focusing today on questions about navigating ArmyIgnitED. Just some overview. The mission of the Multi-State Collaborative on Military Credit is to facilitate an interstate partnership, a true partnership of 13 states, and to translate the competencies acquired by student service members and veterans through military training and experiences. So those count toward college credentials. States exchange information and share best practices in the areas of articulation of credit, certification and licensure, communication, and data and technology. Our project goals are assist states and post-secondary institutions in aiding military-connected students with critical life transitions. And these transitions are from the military to post-secondary education, and then looking at those transitions from post-secondary ed to civilian employment. We work to increase post-secondary education completion rates by these service members and veterans through creating models for the consistent, transparent, and effective awarding of credit for military training and experience, which can be scaled regionally and nationally to then lower the cost of the education and reducing the time to completion. We work to establish a strong network of support, communication, documentation, and the data collection among institutions and organizations for really the purpose of promoting all of these shared interests that we have, and to track these efforts really to enhance military-connected students and veterans' educational success. We have some resources that we've had in the past and additional information for you to review. My name is Sarah Appel, and I am MEC's Associate Director for Policy Initiatives. And joining me today are Joshua Ryder, Executive Director, Center for Adult and Veteran Services at Kent State University, and Rick Williams, Associate Director, Office of Veterans Affairs in Youngstown State University. Before I forget, I just want to remind folks that this is being recorded, and that all of the resources from today's webinar will be sent and on the MEC website as soon as they are available. As well, please submit all of your questions in the Q&A. Do not use the chat. Please use the Q&A because we can monitor that. And we will be sending out a survey along with today's documents and a link to the webinar. So we really appreciate you filling that out and completing that, so we know what other interests you have for us to host more webinars. So now I want to turn it over to Rick Williams.
Thank you, Sarah. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and then we'll go ahead and get started with my portion. All right, awesome. My name is Rick Williams. I'm the Associate Director for the Office of Veterans Affairs at Youngstown State University. And like many of you on this call, I'm doing my best to navigate and understand the ArmyIgnitED tuition assistance program. And I feel that I've been able to learn enough about it in the last couple of months that I can, at the very least, coach a student on how to sign up for an account and apply for tuition assistance. So that's the part that I'm going to go over today, is the student side of it, what a student is going to see when they log on to ArmyIgnitED and how they need to get that process started so they can request their tuition assistance. All right, so when a student logs on to the ArmyIgnitED website, this is typically the screen they see. It's simply a young lady, and it says get started, and a student just simply clicks the get started link, and it brings them to a login.gov site where they have to put in their email address and password and create an account using login.gov. Now, if a student tries to do this without their military ID card, the next screen they're going to get is saying your PIV-CAC account, or your PIV-CAC is not connected to your account. So then they have to go through this process of connecting their military CAC card to their ArmyIgnitED login. So you will need a CAC reader, and I know this might be elementary for some of you, but I'm just going over it anyways. They're not expensive. You could probably order a dozen of these for your office if you have computers. On Amazon, they're $13.68. At Walmart, they're $12.99. So they can be easily had. And then there's some software your IT section may have to download with the correct government certificates for these things to work properly. But once the student connects their PIV-CAC account with their ArmyIgnitED account, then it should let them log into the system. And once they get into the ArmyIgnitED website, this is the welcome screen they will encounter. And you will notice up here, there's 6 steps they have to go through in order to get their account activated. So they hit the Get Started button and they go to part 1, where it simply goes over their name and their birth date, and their social security and their rank. And as long as they've used the old GoArmyEd site, most of that information should have transferred over to ArmyIgnitED when the Army switched from GoArmyEd to ArmyIgnitED. If they're a brand new student that has never used GoArmyEd, then their CAC card, the ArmyIgnitED website will take information off their CAC card and apply it to their site, and they can just simply verify that everything's correct. So part 1 is pretty easy. It takes it right off the CAC card. Once they get to part 2, then it's going to want them to verify their home address. And if they want to, they can add a second address if that's appropriate. The third step, they're going to have them verify their military email address. It will also allow them to add their school email address. This individual here, Ryan Loudon, was one of our students. He graciously allowed me to use his information for this presentation. And then they'll also enter their phone number. Step 4, it'll have them choose which email they want to use, the military or the student email. It'll have them choose their preferred address if there's more than one, and their phone number. That's all pretty easy. Step 5, it'll go over their highest level of education. Now, again, this is information that carried over from GoArmyEd. For Ryan here, it says he has 60 semester hours or more of college credit. That was correct. Some of these students I'm noticing it says high school education, which is not correct. And there's really not a way for them to fix that just yet. They just have to kind of go through step 5 and go on to the next step if it's not correct. When they get to step 6, then everything's been verified, and it will say your account is ready. So at that point, they can click this button here that says go to your home page. When they arrive at their home page, they're going to have this little agreement they're going to have to scroll down through and check mark that they agree. And once they do that, it'll take them to their home screen, which I'm going to show you. So this is what a typical soldier's home screen is going to look like. I want to make sure I didn't skip a slide here. Okay. So once they get to their home screen, they can see how many hours they've used of tuition assistance down below where it says undergraduate hours, graduate hours, certificate hours, semester hours. But the first thing they're going to want to do is create an education path. And you'll see up at the top on that banner of different links there, education path is one of them. They're going to click the education path button. And it's going to say you do not have an education path. So a student definitely wants to have an education path. That's the only way they can request tuition assistance. So they're going to click the button that says add education path. And now we've got another process here. It's 4 steps. Step 1 is review information. So all that information that they kind of reviewed in steps 1 through 6 when they were setting up their account is going to be provided for them again. And if there's something that needs edited, they can click the edit button and type in their correct email address or whatever. As you can see here, the 60 semester hours of more of college credit, the only way that can get changed is the student will have to email their education counselor to have that changed. So there's nothing the student can do if that's incorrect at this point. So once they get through step 1, they're going to hit this little arrow button down here at the bottom. That'll move them to step 2, where they choose the level of education that they're pursuing. So they have 4 choices here: a certificate, an associate's, a bachelor's, or a master's degree. They choose the appropriate one. Then it moves them to step 3, which is choose your area of study. So for this particular student, he's an engineering student here at YSU. He chose engineering. And he hits the yellow button here to move forward to step 4, which is where you choose your education institution. And things can get a little sticky at this part because in step 3, where you choose your degree, if you choose the wrong degree, then your university may not pop up when you type in. As soon as a student starts typing their university, if it's in the system under that degree, it should populate for them. This individual chose Youngstown State, obviously, and it came up right here. And then you hit the select button to choose your university. And once you do that, then all 4 parts of that process are complete. And then you hit the submit for approval button. And once you do that, the system will congratulate the student for getting through those 2 processes. Their education path has now been submitted to their Army education counselor. That counselor is going to be located either at an Army Reserve Education Center if they're a reserve student, or at their state education office if they're a National Guard student, or their active duty education office if they're an active duty soldier. So that's the process. It's really a lot, ArmyIgnitED is a lot simpler for the student than what it was under GoArmyEd. It's much more complex for the university. They've transferred a lot of that work that the student used to have to do to the university. If you remember with GoArmyEd, the student was responsible for uploading their curriculum plan, their bill. A lot of times it would get rejected because it wasn't in the proper format. So they've taken all of that off the student now and placed it on the university. But once the education path is submitted, the student can review their education path. And here you see for Ryan, his education path shows Youngstown State bachelor's degree, electrical and electronics engineering. So now, at that point, the student's done. They can log out, they're done. That's the farthest they can go until we upload their course enrollment file. So now we would log the student out. Now I'm logged in as myself. So you see up here in the right-hand corner, it says, "Welcome, Patrick." That's me. I have to scroll down here to academic institution and make sure I choose that particular choice, not the civilian vendor or the bursar. I'm the academic institution, Youngstown State. And once I click that, then my next screen will show me, I usually always, when I log in, the first thing I do is I go to my queue. So I've got the queue up here highlighted, and it shows, at least this particular day when I took the screenshot, I had no education paths pending, no degree conferrals pending, but that could change any day. But had I done this the day after I had Ryan sign up for his education path, I would have seen 1 education path pending. His name would have been located down here, and then I would have to approve that education path. Really, from the institution's point of view, when you approve an education path, you're just saying, yes, this is one of our students, and yes, he is studying electrical engineering. That's really all you're doing. The actual approval of that education path gets done by their education counselor at their military education office. So I also want to show you the student tab because there's some tricks I've learned here. If you choose students and you go into the search and if you know a particular student, like I know that he applied for tuition assistance, so I can start to type his last name and the system will automatically bring up his information. And if I click his name, it'll take me to his education profile. So this is Ryan's profile here. I can see his information here off to the left. I see his education path here in the center. And we did upload an enrollment file for him. So you can see the courses down here. I've kind of highlighted that we uploaded for fall 21 term and the start dates. So we know that his enrollment course file was uploaded correctly because we can see his courses here on his profile page. So once those courses are uploaded, then the student gets notification from the ArmyIgnitED website that their course enrollment file was uploaded successfully. And that's when the student goes in and selects which courses they want to apply tuition assistance to, because they may only have, every student, as you know, gets $4,500, but if they use some of that in a prior term, they may only have a so much left for this term. So they can choose which courses they want to apply that tuition assistance to. And that's really as far as I've gotten with helping students create their file. We upload their course enrollment file, and then the student goes in and requests tuition assistance for the appropriate courses. Another trick I want to show you is when you go to that search file, because right now the ArmyIgnitED website does not have the functionality to be able to tell you how many of your students have applied for tuition assistance. That would be very nice, wouldn't it? But you kind of have to keep record of it. So every time I help a student apply for TA, I keep a little log of those students, and then I know that when I have to create a course enrollment file, I have a list of all the students that I've helped set up a file. If they did this on their own without your help, really they have to email you or contact you and let you know, hey, I'm applying for tuition assistance, so please upload my course enrollment file. And right now these kids don't know enough about it to even tell you that. So I did learn this little trick that if you go to the search page under the student tab and you just type in, now I know we got all kinds of states taking part in today's webinar, but I'm in Ohio. So if I just type Ohio, that'll bring up all the kids that are in the Ohio National Guard. And this list, if I hit see all results for Ohio, it brings up like 37 names. And these are only the students that are Youngstown State students that are in the Ohio National Guard. So that gives me a list of all the students from the Ohio Guard that are applying for TA. Now, when I look at this list, I can see that some of them have already graduated and moved on. I think this is just a list of every student at any point in time over the last, whatever, so many years that's applied for TA. So I check this list against my active roster to see how many of them are actively enrolled. And those are the course enrollment files I will upload to the system. And if you want to find out how many reserve students you have, Army Reserve, you can type in reserve, and then another list will come up of all the students that are Army Reserve soldiers that are going to your school that have applied for TA, or at least have used TA in the past. So you can see all these different education centers, PA, Minnesota, PA. These are all students that have been students at one time or are current students at Youngstown State that have or plan to use tuition assistance. So that is the end of my presentation. I'm going to stop sharing, and hopefully that was some good insight into what the user side of ArmyIgnitED looks like. And Sarah, I don't know if we want to do questions at the very end or if you want to do questions over my portion now. That's totally up to you.
Sure. I think we had decided that we would do all the questions at the end.
Okay.
And that gives you, Rick, some time to go through the questions and maybe answer some personally. And then we can always, if we didn't get some answered, we'll always go back and address those at the end.
Sounds great.
Awesome. Next on our agenda is Josh Ryder, who's going to give us the institutional view of the ArmyIgnitED program. Take it away, Josh.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Again, I don't have a very PowerPoint here. I'm going to be more of an instinctual presenter and take you through the process as from our perspective as institutions, from the point in time of submitting our degree plans through course enrollment that's going to populate on those screens that Rick showed you, all the way into, we even have some pieces on finance and what that's going to look like for an invoice. So I'll kind of walk you through some of those. Again, I'm Joshua Ryder. I'm the Executive Director, Center for Adult Veteran Services here at Kent State University in Kent, Ohio. So I'm also a VA certifying official for quite a few years. So I've found myself in your shoes in many cases and wearing that hat as well. So let me just jump right in and start to share my screen. take a look here. We'll start out here with Ignited. So as we can see here, this is really kind of where Rick left off, right? We have the queue and we have a 0 pending in my queue as well because I've worked through these. And so the first thing we will do though, the first piece for you to do to make all of this work, before students can select a degree or an education path, they have to be able to see your education paths. Without your degrees being uploaded, not degree plans, but degrees being uploaded, they will not find you. They will reach out to you and say, hey, you're not uploaded. You're not in the system. All these things. And I promise you, if they reach out to Ignited, they will tell you that, you have not maybe completed the entire process. And that is not true. You are in there, but you just need to get your degree plans in there. So you go over to degree management and you have to grab one of these templates. And these are all .csv, comma separated value templates, all in Excel. So then you come over here and you would grab degree. And then you can go in there and you can grab a degree template out of here, degree template. And you can see that it downloads there, right? So that's the first step, is getting that degree template. I'm going to show you then what one looks like as well. This degree management tab is very helpful also. It is where in a second we'll show you where you upload these degree templates. So let me move over here and I'll just stop sharing that. And then I will grab a hold of,
Josh?
Yes.
I think that you weren't sharing the appropriate screen. We had some folks who couldn't see what you were sharing.
Oh, okay. Let's try again here. Do we have that?
There we go.
Okay, got it. So just real quick to run through this here. This is the first step, is really to upload your degree plans. Without that, again, the students won't be able to see it. So you go here into the degree templates under degree management, and you're going to download degrees. And that will be, again, in a comma separated value format. And it's probably never meant much to anybody prior to this moment, but it's very key when you're creating these degree files. So I will then move from that directly into showing you what our degree plan, our degrees look like here at Kent before we upload those. Perfect. Okay. So this is what those are going to look like. Now, obviously, sometimes when you resave them, they revert back to where there is no zeros in front of that OPEID. But normally those are this full 7-digit 003051 in our case. Then you're going to have the degree title, the degree status, and again, all these codes are located in actually a fairly helpful PDF manual that is located under support in Ignited. And then your degree description, and then your zip codes, the location of those. And folks often ask, what the average tuition is. These are kind of those average tuition amounts. Heard a lot of different things here. Average total in-state or out-of-state to complete the degree. If you put this in, that means the average exceeds that amount. It is more than $9,999.99, and the computer will accept that response and it'll allow you to successfully upload that degree file. All the fields do have to be filled in. It will indicate always in that PDF which fields do not need filled in, and you can leave those blank. But if you leave anything blank here, then it will reject. And this is again a situation where you have to save it initially as a text file. You bring it out of a CSV into an Excel file, and then you do all of your work. You select this. You'll select text over the whole document. Then you'll be able to input everything appropriately. Then you'll have to save it again as a comma separated value file. And there is also a naming convention to that. And then, pause me if I'm not sharing the right thing again. We go back over to our Ignited. You would take that file and you would, in this case for degree, you would upload that file right here. You can also go to validate data, which is the first thing you would want to do. You would want to bring it in here. You would select the type. You would say degree. And then you would bring it in here and upload it. If it is green and there's a big green check mark at the bottom, it is ready to go. It did not detect any initial errors in the formatting of the document, right? It doesn't mean that something won't pop up later, but it did not detect any errors in the initial. And then you'll go back out of here to degree management. You'll go into degree and you will upload it here. And there'll be the file will appear under uploaded files with a green check mark circle beside it. You're done. Your degrees have uploaded. That is really step number one in getting this whole thing going. So now your soldiers can now select you. Then you need to upload, once the soldiers are selecting you, they'll of course go into this queue, as Rick said, and then you will have to go and approve their degree plans. And again, keep a list of these somewhere, because again, Ignited does not, once you click approve, you have to search them by name individually. There is no place to pull a list of anybody that you have approved. They say that they're working on that. We'll see, right? So we'll see what happens there with that functionality. So the next step is to upload your course enrollment. You're going to become very familiar with this process. This happens all the time. So after you've approved them, then you have to put their courses in there. You're going to go over here to degree management. Going to go over here to the template, and you're going to download the course enrollment template. And then again, you can reference the PDF that is located here under support, which is a really fantastic resource that tells you what all the codes mean, and which files or fields, excuse me, that you can leave blank, right? So that's probably the best thing that they've produced, quite honestly. The videos, I understand that the videos can be a bit frustrating. You got to listen to them about 2-3 times. And we have at Kent State, and we have been able to figure it out. Should it be that way? No. Is it? Yep. So, but this is going to just show you exactly what that looks like. And I'm pausing, apologize for all the sharing and unsharing here, but I'm just going to share my screen again, and I'm going to show you what an enrollment file looks like. Now, again, when you get that template, the first thing you're going to want to do with that template is go in, enter the new naming convention for that template. And in this case, that naming convention is going to be as follows: enrollment _ your facility, your OPEID number, the date with an underscore in between, the month, the day, the year, and then right at the end, the time and military time. So that is your naming convention. You save it as an Excel document. Then you'll want to go in. You'll want to highlight the entire document. It's going to come in as general. You're going to want to move it down here to text, right? So this is already in a text format. You'll want to do that and save it again. And then you can start entering it. Your OPEID number, your soldier ID number, your school ID number. That's what we would call a banner ID number. We're a banner school. Names, the date of registration. RE means enrolled. The subject, the catalog number, the section number, and the CRN, we call them CRN numbers. It has to be it has to be in this format. If it is not, it will reject it every single time. And you won't find out maybe for some time, even though if it clears validation. Semester, quarter, whatever that happens to be for you. The course title takes, I think, 50 characters in either of these boxes. So even in the long course title, you kind of have to abbreviate it. Start and end dates, WW meaning completely online course, or CF means a course delivered off base. Most of our courses fall under this area. And then our different tuition type, additional fees, graduate, undergraduate level, lower division, upper division level, flat rate, in-state or out-of-state tuition. They need all of those indicators in there. The only thing you don't have to really do is the instructor name. Date of withdrawal would only be if you're doing an adjustment file to report withdrawals. And enrollment code reason. If this was a withdrawal, you'd have to put a reason why the student was no longer in that coursework over here. SSN, I've blanked that all out, but it is this SSN as you would normally produce it. It needs to be 3-2-4, and that's that format. If it is not, again, it will reject it. If it is not in text, what it will do is it'll change dates. You cannot also do the function where you kind of drag and pull down. You have to copy line per line. If, for example, somebody registered, they're all 4 dates for hand in here are 7/14/21. You have to copy, 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 copy. You cannot drag and copy any of that functionality. It just will not work. It'll change the dates, etc. on you. So then it's time consuming. But once you do this, you take that file, then you're going to save it. You're going to save it again as a .csv, because if it is not a comma separated value, it will reject it. So now we're going to go back in here. We're going to go back into Ignited. And we're going to go to this degree management. We should always validate it first. We'll go back in, we'll upload it. If there are errors, and often your first time there will be errors, right? You've missed a period, something is capitalized when it shouldn't be, or vice versa. And it'll list those errors, and it'll list them almost in a WordPad type of a format. It'll list them, like this row, this error, comma, this error, comma, like you're talking, just really like you're talking to a computer, which you are. And then you'll do that. And then when you are done, you will go back up to here. Again, submission, you'll go to course enrollment, you'll drop it in there and it'll upload, and it'll have the green arrow beside it to show that it has been uploaded. And then after, I think usually 24 to 48 hours, it drops, it does take some time. There's a batch upload process. It drops it into the student queue, and they're able to then, as Rick said, go in and they get notified, and they go in and select the courses for which they want to apply for TA. On our end, we just always put in all of their courses that they have in their schedule and let the student make that decision, of course, on their end, on how that goes. There are degree plans on here. We have admittedly not done student degree plans. We are working with some of our folks to get that done. Some of the folks you need to bring to the table on this, and I know there are many institutions here and multiple folks from those institutions. We're with the Veterans Center. We process all VA educational benefits. We're involved in this. Our registrar's office is doing grade and graduation submissions. They are just finally been cleared and have gotten that process underway. Degree plans, I worked with our curriculum and instruction folks, Office of the Provost, to really prepare that document. Also working on degree plans with a number of different folks. Difficult document, if anybody has pursued or taken a look at that yet. Very tough document to work on. We're looking on a batch upload process for that, but again, it's kind of a living thing where the student is constantly making changes. So that's another piece we're looking at right now. And so otherwise, though it is working, our students are getting paid. And that leads me into our last piece. What does it look like when somebody gets paid through this? What does an invoice look like on our bursar's end? And I had them assemble this because, again, for a while, we were not getting paid for quite a long time, right? And I'm sure some folks maybe are still experiencing that. So when we look at invoices, so initially you go into Ignited and you choose finance, right? You can choose create invoice to review invoices ready to process, and they will look like this. Once you create an invoice, you look at the submit invoice screen. They'll stay here until you hit submit. Once a month between the 1st and the 15th. Yeah, it's not great, but one time a month between the 1st and the 15th. And then once more between the 16th and the last day. So twice a month you can do this. And then then you'll go in here to the submit invoice screen. Now this is grayed out because we've already submitted this amount, right? We've been paid for these soldiers in this amount. This was an earlier invoice that we did. And you simply click submit. It seems like too easy to be true. And it kind of is pretty easy from and this is the invoice history that you can look at there as well. So it seems like too good to be true because so many things are very difficult that they have produced. But this is kind of like degree plan, or excuse me, education path, approve. Yes, it's one click, right, that approves them. The student goes in and selects the courses that they want to use once you've uploaded them. That's just one click and then they submit it. This is the same way. You download these and then you just submit them and you eventually get paid. So one more resource for you that I've found very helpful, and if you have not signed up for it, I recommend that you do so. The Army School Support, the Military School Support page. That is going to be here. Does everybody see the military? Rick, am I looking at the military school support page there? Yep, okay, gotcha, thank you. And this is going to be, they have created this. This is probably honestly, this is one of the best things that they've done to date with this. They have, oh, I'm sorry. Well, the military school support page, that closed out on me. But what you would do with that, all right, a second. There. What you would do with that, this allows you to get tips. They give you tips. They're up to like 18 tips that they've done. You can ask, you can post, you can ask real-time questions. There are always individuals online that can support. Like Sume Hedges, et cetera, and some of those names that you might have reached out to over time. They're there to answer questions. It's a lot quicker to get an answer here than email. It's a place to share knowledge. For example, if folks around the country have had an issue, you can post here and you can get an answer from other folks. So this is a lot better probably than a ticket initially. You're going to get some more of a knowledge base, a knowledge database, and you're going to be able to talk to some real-time support people. This has been very helpful for us on some billing questions that we had before we really realized how intuitive it kind of was in that regard. So I'm gonna stop here because I know we have a lot of questions. And again, Rick and I are just we're just practitioners and student affairs professionals like yourselves. So we are, as a disclaimer, we do not work for ArmyIgnitED. We would not want to do that right now. We do not work for the Army. We work for 2 institutions, 2 publicly funded institutions in Ohio, and we're just here to kind of share some best practices, what's worked for us, those kind of pieces. So, any questions we will attempt the best to answer these questions for you. I don't know if we want to kind of lump these into themes or how we want to do that. Let's take a look at the Q&A.
Well, I've been typing out answers to these questions individually here.
Cool.
While you were talking. Most of the earlier questions were for me, and it looks like all the ones coming through now are kind of for you. I suppose you could just read some of these out loud and try and answer them if you.
You bet.
My favorite one is there a Josh Ryder at every institution?
That's hilarious. I'm sitting here reading that right now. That is so funny. There could be multiple Joshua Riders at an institution, and maybe there will be, right? It could be handled by one office, right? This could all fall under the registrar or under a military services center, right? It could fall under where there is one person doing, if you're at a smaller institution, maybe you're wearing a number of hats. You're submitting degree plans, you're submitting degrees, you're submitting course enrollment. Oh, and you're also billing, right? But it is good I would say that it's good to have a POC on this. You absolutely need that point of contact because there needs some liaison between different offices if there is more than one Joshua Ryder, and there is at Kent State, right? We have our registrar, we have our bursar, we have a military services center, we have a provost involved in this at some level. So you need somebody that has access to every screen on the system, has kind of that universal access through Ignited that can kind of take a look and troubleshoot different areas here. So yeah, there is an expectation. Also, the memorandum of understanding, the DoD MOU, if you're accepting any kind of TA, you have a central point of contact for that is responsible. That's not your signing authority. That's not your president typically, or your CEO, CFO. So kind of yes, there is an expectation that there is that person at the institution. I'm reading here. Every single one of our enrollment files was approved. This is from Christina. And then we received a rejected email the next day. I put numerous case numbers in with no response back as to why. And then the student could see their classes and we submitted an invoice, but no idea why I was rejected the next day. That happened to us. That did happen to us early on. I don't know if there was a glitch early on, but it's been smooth since then. We received some rejects with, like, when you get a rejected file the next day, there will always be in the body of the email, like almost like a run-on sentence with just some commas there, the line, the error, what is wrong, and you just need to kind of go back in and work on that. but we got rejects that had none of that. So I think there was an issue there. The spreadsheets, I've seen this several times. Do we populate them manually or programmatically? The spreadsheet for course enrollment that's manual. That is bad news. Wah, wah, wah. That is a manual process, and it is time. It takes some time. For the degrees, that was done. That was done manually as well. The degree plans, because they're so in depth, we're looking at something more batch. But we had some data entry folks just enter that in when it came to degree plans.
Josh, we have a couple folks in the Q&A who have really reiterated the fact that you need to understand, or you need to really learn your SIP codes. Could you talk a little bit towards that, please? Thanks.
Yes, boy, SIP codes. That is something that I obviously knew what they were, but I'd never talked about them that much until we really got back into Ignited here. So the SIP code piece, yes, the SIP code is required as part of that degree batch upload, right? All 346 of our degree plans at Kent State have one, all of yours have one. When the student goes into search, you have to understand when they search for a major, it is not organized, unfortunately, alphabetically, like if you put in, it is organized by SIP code. So if a student is having a hard time locating you and they're saying, I'm making something up, aeronautics. I'm putting in aeronautics and I can't find Kent State. Well, aeronautics is absolutely one of our key programs here. It's absolutely on that degree, but it's going to be loaded by SIP. So you would need to go in there and find that SIP, send it to the student and say, please try this. Like put this exact line in there, CIP 51.0001, right? Oh, there you are, done. Yeah, that is something that, again, it's not intuitive. It is not listed as you would think it would be by alphabetical, like business, everybody in business, all the institutions. No, it's by SIP code.
Yeah, and this seems elementary, but when I requested our IT department to upload that degree file and it was uploaded successfully, I had them send me a copy of that file. So I have a list now of all of the degrees we offer at Youngstown State by SIP code. So I can refer to that list when I'm helping a student with their setting up their profile on ArmyIgnitED.
Yep, absolutely. And there's a great question in here. Two things, I'm going to answer two. The process for entering grades, it is going to look very similar. The process, I've worked with our registrar's team. They're going to be doing grades and graduations. You go to degree management, you go to the templates. There is a grade and a graduation template. And I will show you the support. There's a great question in there about where do we find these support documents. I'll show you where those are at in 1 second as well. Those support documents are going to be really key to this. So you will then go ahead and submit them in the same format. Again, you download it as a .csv, save it as an Excel with the naming convention, go in, fill up all the necessary fields, go back in, save it as a .csv, validate, submit. That's going to be something, obviously, you're doing less regularly than course enrollment, but let me share my screen again. Let me go back into here, Ignited. All right. So when we go over here into Ignited, obviously, this is where our degree management is. Support. Create a case. That is a difficult process. So let's just go up to training materials. And then you should always be under educational institutions. And that will then tailor these things for you. Creating an EI user account. There is a PDF on that. Interactive training guide. And then all of these videos on here. There's one for degree uploads. There are 2 videos, one for course enrollment. There are 2 videos, student degree plans. I have We have all listened to those, and we are working diligently and working on those student degree plans. So as a question earlier, could we provide a student degree plan template? We have not done one yet. Admittedly, we have not done one yet. Release updates. And there are different pieces on here, like different how-to guides are uploaded under here. How to process invoices. Take a look here. Yep, and this is kind of one of the pieces there that they offer. Again, it's not great, but I'm going to find a PDF and I'm going to share that. There is a very great instructional PDF that I'm going to share with Sarah and Mary here as well as I track it down that will give you all of the codes that you need. It was produced very early on by them, and it was able to give you all of those fields as you go through grades, course enrollment, graduation. When you have questions, it'll tell you what letters to enter and numbers to enter into each one, what you can leave blank and what you can't. That is the key. Take a look here. Looks like you can only update degrees, certifications, and courses only if the student is enrolled. So when you upload the degrees, those are just all of whatever it should be every major that you offer, right? Every single one that you offer. Then a student in any of those can select you. And then yes, you can only update the courses for which they are. We only enter the courses for which we know they are enrolled. Even if they were to hand me a prospective schedule, I wouldn't really do that until we see those in our banner system. Yep, good point by Dominic Barnes. The training guides are periodically updated. They absolutely are, and we have gotten some good information on those.
And Josh, while you're looking, many of you have asked a question about what the heck is a SIP code? And basically it stands for Classification of Instructional Programs. And it's really a taxonomy of all of the academic programs and basically provides a numbering system to help, keep track of those. And they're updated quite frequently as programs change, as the need to add new topics of education change. And you can actually get those on the web at NCES. And you can download those. You can see which ones changed, which ones have been retired, but they're definitely there as a help to keep track of all the programs that students have available.
And I will grab that very helpful PDF to be forwarded out to everybody that has all those outstanding instructions in it they'll help you out with these. To scroll through some questions. Have any decisions been made on what type of file format will be acceptable for the student degree plan? Meaning a mapped out plan of study with students' enrollment attached. We have the ability to produce a PDF document, but in a CSV format that would, yes, it is .csv. There is no way for an individual student to upload their own degree audit or have the institution upload one individual degree audit for them, right? So it is, the student has very little ability to upload anything in here. Whereas that's flipped from with GoArmy, where really there was really a billing function. The student put in their courses, they uploaded their degree plan, signed off on by an academic advisor. They did all those pieces. In here, all that is uploaded manually. So we're working on putting those into that .csv. But for example, there could be, if a student is taking 121 credit hour 4-year program, maybe you have 35, 45 courses in that program from which they can select potentially, right? So that's our challenge. Can you view the degrees you previously uploaded? That is a great question. I do not believe so. I do not believe that you can view those. You only know what you submitted, right? You only have a copy of the Excel document that we submitted and was approved. So I go back in that, and I've been able to copy and paste from that when I've worked with different students and been able to drop, a line of a zip code or a major title, how we coded it, BBA, BA, BS, whatever, into an email back to them. Yeah, that is challenging.
Josh and Rick, we had a question. There were a couple folks who wondered how many students at your institutions use TA?
Rick, you want to jump in on that?
Yeah, Youngstown State, we got about 11,500 students at YSU, so we're a mid-sized state school. As far as veterans and military members, we have about 250 of those kind of students. And under a normal semester, and this semester was not normal when it came to Army TA, we would have usually about 20 or 30 Air Force and maybe 30 or 40 Army TA users. This semester, I only had about a dozen Army students even attempt TA because they were so frustrated by the process.
We had, I don't know exactly, I think we had same amount of, typically the same amount of AI portal students. We've had a pretty consistent number at about 10 to 15 of AI portal students. In GoArmy, we submitted about, in Ignited, we submitted about 43 this time. And we know that will be more moving forward, because in our state, we have an Ohio National Guard scholarship, and these students are required to apply for, if eligible, to apply for TA as well. And so, for the spring term, we're expecting north of 100 probably here, as again, it becomes mandatory. And I'm sure Rick and others, if you have that, we'll see those numbers skyrocket if it becomes mandatory for your state's Guard scholarship to do a TA first type of an option. Then yes, those numbers are going to shoot up, and we're kind of prepared for that and getting ready on how we're going to, hopefully Ignited is able to provide that search function that they've promised, where when you click approve, you're able to then pull the students by your institution that have been approved through a date range, right? So that's something that has been discussed, but it's not rolled out yet.
And Rick and Josh, we actually had someone else ask, where can we find the training guides and videos supplied by the Army for ArmyIgnitED?
Yep, absolutely. Let me grab that again here. Let me share that. Perfect. I'll go through that a little. I might have gone a little bit too quickly. I speak very quickly, and that can be a little bit of a problem for my staff. I'll let you know that if they work with me. So you'll come up here and you'll click on support, and then you will go to training materials. And again, somebody indicated there in the chat that these do get updated. And then you would want to go all the way down here to educational institutions, and that'll then tailor these resources to you under training videos. So far, they have uploaded degree file, course enrollment, and student degree plan. Those are the three that they have. But there are also interactive training guides that are incredibly helpful here. And the one that is the most helpful too, I'll grab that PDF and get it out by the end of the presentation, so that can be mailed out to maybe the folks that attended.
Josh.
Yeah.
I'm seeing the Army School Support website, and I may not be sharing the right screen.
Give this one more chance. All right.
There
we are. There we are. So we go to support. On our support tab, we'll make sure that we have selected education institutions, tuition assistance, and then all of our interactive training videos are here. Just not, not training guides, training videos, release updates. As you can see, there has been one just as recent as 9/28. Click on that. Talks about this one, particular one talks about credit card service fees, but so that's something for everybody. But and then various how-to guides on here as well. processing invoices, navigating, flat file interface. This one might be, yep, this is really kind of your magic right here. This shows, this has a lot of the initial flow that you'll use with it. And the validating and uploading of these flat files as well. So this is this one also. Those are good, they're solid. All right, Tom, what was?
And while Josh is looking for one more question, Rick, maybe if there's one more question you want to address before we end the webinar.
Sure.
We'll be looking at all of the questions that you've submitted through the Q&A feature. And then we'll try to get some additional answers for you and try to put those in buckets so that they're easier to find. We'll also try to do the same with other webinars that we continue to do. We know that this topic is like mind-blowing to understand and navigate, but it'll take time. And every time you have something new to process through, it's not as quick as the old version, but we'll keep plugging away and providing more webinars. Josh, is there another question that you'd like to answer?
Yes, Thomas from Ohio State was inquiring about how we can grade and verify a degree. So sorry, I sifted back through there and I found that one. So in regards to the grades, so we're probably talking about grade submission. That would be really the same kind of way. You would go back through, you would use Ignited. I do not have a process flow outlined for that yet, but let me go ahead and just share this real quick. We're going to go here. We are going to go to degree management. You would go in here and select the template. There is a grades template that you can grab there. And then again, it's the same thing. It's going to be saved as an Excel. You're going to work the template with those, using some of those helpful PDFs, and then go back through and save it as a .csv and submit it. That is the way to do grades as well. Graduations, all the functions are manual entry and they're all the same, unfortunately, from what we've discovered so far.
Thanks, Josh.
You're welcome. I'm seeing a lot of folks comment on cases and help desk cases. Yep, those, boy, like you create a snow or those kind of items, good luck. Good luck. I mean, those are better. You're better off to try and email somebody if you have a relationship with somebody there in Ignited to email directly if you've had success, or use that Army School support page to do that. That's going to be way quicker for everybody. That's what we found.
Thanks, Josh. Rick, any final question or words of wisdom? Oh, you're on mute, sir.
Not too many words of wisdom, unfortunately, but I've been sort of typing answers to these questions that apply to my portion as we've gone along. All I can say is I see a lot of people asking questions about degree plans. When do we have to upload degree plans? Or I thought we were supposed to do that first. And that is true. Typically, they would want the degree plan uploaded before the course enrollment files. But for right now, ArmyIgnitED is saying just get the course enrollment files uploaded so we can pay these students. And at some point in the future, they are going to ask for those degree plans. It's just at this point, I've heard nothing from them about when they want those uploaded.
Thank you so much. We've met our time quite quickly. We still have 69 questions in the Q&A feature. So we'll be going through those. And this tells me, oh, now we're 70. So this tells me that we probably need to do a part 2 on ArmyIgnitED, and we can take a look at those questions and filter those down and maybe look at that next webinar to hone in on some of those questions. Again, I want to thank you all so much for joining us today. Special thanks to Rick and Josh, and of course to Mary for making this possible on the back end at MEC. And again, please fill out that survey and let us know what webinars you would like to see us provide to you in the future, and we will definitely get on those. Thanks again. A recording of this will be on our MCMC website for resources, as well as some additional links. So again, thank you all very much, and we'll keep in touch. And if you have any questions in the meantime, feel free to reach out to me. My email address is Sarah, SARAA, @mec.org. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.